Hi everyone, it's me, Darlene. I want to make another quilt block today for the quilt block party. I figure the more I give myself to do in the house, the more I can procrastinate about going outside and shoveling. We got quite a bit of snow last night. I want to mention something though before we go over and make the next block. I really think that when I'm done all these blocks, or maybe even as I go, I just have to go find my tons and tons of lace and ribbon and buttons and bows and all that. I want to embellish these blocks. Now, especially this one. Look at this blank canvas here that just opens itself up to embellishments. I can see like maybe some ribbon going across there and just, oh my God, it'll be so fun. And then this one can have like some buttons here and there. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I will start also showing you guys how to embellish crazy quilt blocks. Okay, is that all I wanted to tell you before we head on over? I think I've decided that I'm going to try to have gingham in every piece, maybe gingham and at least one other fabric, just to know that they will all be cohesive. I still have colors and fabrics that I haven't used in either of these. It's gonna be fun. I just can't wait to see what all the blocks look like at the end, and I am leaning more toward selling the blocks as a lot when I'm done, as opposed to me putting together a whole entire quilt. So it'll be a good way to test and see if there is a market out there for quilt blocks that are already made and already embellished. I know there are people who like to do just the quilting part, not the piecing, so we'll see. And if it doesn't sell, well then I might be forced to turn it into a quilt. All right, let's just go on over to the sewing center. As always, I have really no set way of doing what I'm about to do. I have an idea in my head, and I kind of want to have something here in this corner when I'm done with the rest of the strips that I put on this block. And I kind of want it in a round shape. So I'm going to mark it so I know I don't have to necessarily put fabric on this section. It's okay to cover the entire foundation with fabric and then do applique or whatever on top, but it makes the fabric a little bit more stiffer. It makes the block stiffer where there's multiple layers. To me, any part that I don't have to sew or use fabric on, I'm good with it. So I just wanted to show you an easy way to draw a curve. I want mine 4 inches in. All you have to do is take a measuring tape and put it on the 4-inch mark, and then you just make a line or a dot on top of your measuring tape. And you just go all the way around like that. You keep the 4-inch mark on the corner, and you just turn, turn, turn. Same here. Turn, turn, turn. It's like a compass. Then you just connect the dots. And I'm using a permanent marker so it will not run in the wash. And I'm not using sheer fabrics, so this line will never show. Here's what I have done so far. I just cut a bunch of triangles, long triangles, various widths, kind of laid them down the way I think I'd like them. And you can see that I, don't really have much going on inside this circle because these will be trimmed. I'm going to go ahead and start sewing these down. I know with the seam allowances, it's going to bunch them up more, and I want to see how much I have left over. So let me just show you again what we're going to do. I'm going to just lay this one down, and then I will take my next strip and put it right sides together, like so. I'm just going to stitch. Then I will press the seam to set it. And then I will flip over and press. Now do remember that a triangle that is skinny like this, when all is said and done, there's going to be just a little bit of that showing. And I did that on purpose because sometimes I like some very thin lines on a crazy quilt. So let's just go over to the machine and get all this sewn down. All I have to watch for at this point is I want to make sure that when I fold this back over that I've gone to the edge of my fabric. So I just want to make sure it's really sticking out enough on this end. And you want right sides together. And let me show you what I mean when I say press to set and then open. I just leave my fabrics laying down like this and I just press right on top. And that relaxes that stitch line that you just created. So when you open it up, it just is so nice and clean. You just open it up now, and then you press that down. Easy as that. I forgot to turn my camera back on for that piece, but you can see that I did this one. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the other side off camera, and then I'll be back. I did want to show you that when you go in the other direction, you're going to be starting at the pointy end. So just make sure your fabric sticks out long enough. You're going to do this and sew from pointy end up. Okay, we have a little bit of an issue here. I'm obviously making my bottom of my triangles too narrow because I have like a whole bunched up bunch of triangle bottoms here and a lot of space filled here. So my next couple of triangles I'm going to make with bigger bases, if that makes any sense. I'll cut them and I'll show you. Oh, but I also want to trim my little tails here because we don't need a whole pile of fabric inside that circle. Here's what I have decided on. I went ahead and cut some plain blue with a wider base, and I'm going to stitch those down. Then this will finish off here, and then after I trim that, that's going to give me enough fabric, I hope, for this last piece. This is what I have ended up with. Let's go ahead and flip and trim a little bit. I will square it up later. Now, you can see that my little circle is there. Now, my plan was to have two kinds of circles here. So let me stop and think about this for a bit, and I'll be right back. I think I've decided that I'm going to kind of do a scalloped ring first, then a circle on top of it. You know, I was kind of inspired by one of my own doodles. It was like a flower in the corner, and then I did a lot of lines going out. So I'm just going with that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a piece of handy dandy wax paper. I want it big enough so that I can draw, and I also want to trim it a little bit. So let me just put a couple of pins here. Even though I'm going to trim it, I want to trim it longer than the square. That just leaves room for boo-boos. Now is my marker. All right, if I want, I guess I could mark along my fabric just so I can see where my square actually is. Maybe my inner circle could go to like here. Then my outer circle, I'm thinking, could be, I don't know, just big scalloped. Now see, that's good enough for me. I kind of just like that. So let's take that off. Now for my scalloped edge, it doesn't have to go all the way down because I will have this circle on top of it. So I'm going to cut this about like that. And that'll give me enough of a seam allowance for my other circle to go on. It'll make more sense once I lay it down. Now I just need to figure out what color I want my petals. And I'm thinking, let's do this light blue that actually has flowers in it. That will be cool. Going to get a piece of fabric. And I'm going to fold my fabric right sides together, just so I have enough space on my fabric to cut out my pattern. Roll that down a little bit. Now, I see my pattern fits. Let's just go with that. I will pin that in a couple places. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to do something that I haven't done before. Let me move my pins so they're not so much in the way. I'm going to go sew right on this line on the wax paper. It should be easy enough to rip off after. I'm just going to put a pin in each petal. Let's go over to the machine. I'm so excited to try this. I think I'll feel more comfortable sewing this way. I'm just going to sew on the line of the petals. That's going to be so much easier than cutting them first. You just have to sew a couple stitches and keep turning. I hear my neighbor snow blowing my driveway. So I took my pins out, and I'm just going to rip this off and see if it works. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Every bit of it came off. Easy as that. So now I'm going to just go and cut small seam allowance. Then if you want, you can snip inside the points and on the curves a little bit. Just makes it easier to turn. And I'm just going to cut the bottom off here so we can turn and see what we have. Push each little petal out. You certainly could do applique just by using fusing and then stitch around, but I'm just enjoying doing different things, so we're just going to stick with different for now. I'm not sure I like this. Let's see here what we have. Well, I'm just gonna go with it. Let's add our circle piece now and see what happens. And let's see, I just want like a half circle thing going on here. So maybe like that. Maybe that has to go out more like that. Like that. Do you like the way I do things? It's because I don't know what I'm doing. Going with this. And I think I had decided that I want this for the center of the flower. So I'm just going to cut this out with some seam allowance and all that jazz. For this I don't need to stitch on the line because I can sew a curve simple enough. Alright, once again I'm going to just fold my fabric so that the pattern fits. And I'm just going to trim with some seam allowance. Always better too big than not big enough. All I'm going to do is go sew this curve. Alright, I sewed my curve, I pressed it, let's open it. Going to press it again. Alright, I think this is going to be cute. Cute enough. Now, I'm going to just leave this sandwiched like this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch this curve down. Then I will go back with my machine and I'll stitch each of the petals. And remember, when you do top stitching, the top thread is going to show. And I happen to have light blue, so can't beat that. Okay, I'm just going to sew the curve down close to the edge. I'm going to sew the petals down. Again, just close to the edge of each petal. Oh my God! I think this is gonna be so cute. Alright, let's flip this baby over and trim it. How about we just square it off? I'm just going to go and make this now a nice 13-inch square. And before I flip this over to look at it, I'm going to go around and stitch all along the sides, close to the edge. OMG, ILOVE. This came out so nice. When I trimmed, we lost some of that petal. That's okay. I would have, in the way, preferred now that I see how cute that is, that would have been cool if it was really big. But hey, I'm going with it. I like it. Don't you? And we sewed on top of wax paper. That was something new for me. This is it for this quilt block. I hope you enjoyed. I will have block number 4 for you soon. I have the playlist down below if you want to go check out the other blocks. I'm trying to make a cohesive batch of, I'm thinking 20 blocks. So stick around and you'll watch me make them all. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.